Hi everyone, it's Christina from Proverbs 31 Woman, and today I'm here to talk to you a little bit more about winter sowing. I do already have a video about winter sowing, the steps that you need to take to do it. So if you're not familiar, I recommend that you go watch that. But briefly, winter sowing is really just mimicking what nature does. You sow your seeds in the winter, and believe it or not, most seeds will sprout and create very hardy seedlings. It's a wonderfully easy and inexpensive way to start your seeds. But I had some people ask some questions after watching that video, and so that's what I'm here today to sort of try and clear those things up and provide a few more details. I specifically want to give a shout out to JP What About It, who encouraged me to make this video. So I'm going to try and answer those questions, and if you have any others about winter sowing or really any other topic related to gardening, homesteading, please go ahead and leave a comment. I try to answer all questions either on a video or in the comments section. And of course you can always check out my blog, which is www.proverbs31woman.blogspot.com. And there I have been blogging for many years about homesteading topics, as well as some other things such as faith and parenting and home life. So the first question I want to address is soil. What kind of soil should you use when you're starting seeds by the winter sowing method? It may seem contrary or weird to people who are used to other seed sowing methods, but I always just use potting soil that you buy in a bag. It has never been a problem for me at all. It's inexpensive, it's easy, and it gives the seedlings some nutrients. So sometimes with certain seed starting mixtures that you might use, you have to fertilize. You don't have to do that if you go ahead and just use potting soil. So that's what I recommend. Another question was, how many seeds should you put in every container? Should you look at this packaging and space your seeds like you would if you were planting them directly in the soil, or what? The answer is you don't have to. One of the benefits to winter sowing is that you can plant a ton of seeds in a small container very close together. Like if they're little teeny seeds, you can just scatter them, not worry about how close they are. And your seedlings will come up, and they're so hardy using this method that when it comes time to transplant them, I'm kind of ruthless. I just tear them apart. I don't, use a special little tool or a spoon to separate them. I just rip them apart. And they always seem to do great. So you don't have to worry about that at all. Another question was, well, how do you know when to transplant your seedlings? So there's a couple of ways. First, when seeds first sprout, you will always get what are called the first leaves. Those are kind of like baby leaves. They almost don't count. You want to wait for the true leaves, which look like sort of miniature versions of whatever the plant will eventually have. So let those first little couple of leaves come up and let more mature leaves come out, and then you know it's okay to transplant. Another way to tell with winter sowing is, if you recall, you are using your container that has a lid. You're creating a little mini greenhouse basically. And once the seeds sprout, you're cutting a little hole here and a little hole there in the top, allowing more and more air to the seedlings. And you're just going to keep clipping that away and clipping that away until when there's more hole than there is top, then it's perfectly safe to go and take those seedlings and plant them in your garden. You don't have to harden them off. That's another great reason to use this method. The only time I might harden them off is around here we have really windy winters sometimes, hurricane force winds. So I will often do my seedlings in the greenhouse, even though I'm winter sowing. But the greenhouse, of course, is, at least 10 degrees warmer, even though it's unheated, than the outdoors. So I would go ahead and harden them off a little bit. I mean, I don't take a lot of effort in this thing. My seedlings, if they're going to survive, they need to be strong. So that's one of the reasons I love winter sowing. And I think that pretty much covers it, except for some questions about what types of things winter sow well. So it mimics nature. It's a pretty natural process. The seeds are getting cold, and then when it warms up enough, they sense that it's time to go ahead and sprout. So things that do well are wildflowers, herbs, anything that in the catalog description or on the back of the packet says that it self-sows or colonizes, if it says it's hardy, or that it needs stratification or pre-chilling or refrigeration before you sprout the seeds. Those are all really good indicators that those seeds are going to do very well with winter sowing. That said, you can do an awful lot of vegetables with the winter sowing method. In fact, it's how I start almost all my seeds. Let's see. You can do beans that way if you wanted to, although frankly I think it's better just to direct sow them in the ground. You can do beets, bok choy, broccoli, cabbage, carrots, chard, collards, kale, any of the greens really. Lettuce, parsnips, radishes, squash, spinach, and even, believe it or not, tomatoes. Now, not all tomatoes are going to do well with this method, so sometimes it's trial and error. I tend to grow, because of where I live, tomatoes that are cold hardy. They don't need as much warmth as maybe your classic tomatoes. So when I'm looking in the seed catalogs, I look for things that have a short growing season, but more importantly for winter sowing, they often either in their description or their name have words like frost, Alaska, Russia. Those are really good indications that those tomatoes or other vegetables will do well with winter sowing. So next, I bought a bunch of seeds this year. I do save seeds, and I certainly have seeds from past years, but our homestead is relatively new to us, and I'm still learning which varieties do best here as opposed to the climate of our old suburban homestead. So I'm having fun experimenting. I thought I would take you through some of the seeds that I bought and talk to you about which ones I think will do really well with winter sowing and which ones maybe I'll use a different method. So I bought a few seeds from Baker Creek Seeds, rareseeds.com, same company. And by and large, this is, I think, a great company to choose from. I'm going to grow dinosaur kale this year for the first time. The package says cabbage, but it's dinosaur kale. Any type of kale I've ever tried winter sowing does extremely well. Squash, zucchini, black beauty squash. I have had the worst time growing zucchini on our new homestead. I can't quite figure it out. Seems so strange because zucchini is, like a weed usually. So usually with squash, I find it better to go ahead and just direct sow, meaning that I just stick that seed in the soil, the pot, the garden bed, whatever, where I'm going to grow the plant in the spring. I have not really found much benefit to winter sowing squash. In fact, it has a tendency to want to die off before it's really time to put it out in the garden, before it's big enough to put out in the garden. I don't find, even when I successfully winter sow them, that it really gives me a jump on the season. One of the benefits of winter sowing is you can often get your vegetables out sooner than you would if you were using other methods, even when you are doing a spring or a fall crop. In other words, cool season vegetables. But not so with squash. Slow-boat cilantro. I will winter sow that. It should do very well. Here's a type of tomato, Betalux tomato, and I chose it specifically because it doesn't mind colder regions. I am going to try to winter sow at least some of these, if not all. Morris heading collards. I do these every year. They're wonderful for winter sowing. They're super hardy. They last in the garden all winter. I really recommend them. And here's a type of cabbage that I've never grown before. Cabbages in general do extremely well with winter sowing, so I will winter sow this. Then I have most of my seeds, which I bought from Territorial Seed Company. I highly recommend that company. I have always had very good success with their seeds. I bought Winter Density lettuce. It's a lettuce I haven't tried before. Lettuces winter sow very well, so I don't believe that this will be any different. I will winter sow it. Amazing cauliflower was amazing last year. I loved it. It did really, really well. It was the first time I successfully, to my mind, grew cauliflower. Had nice heads on it. And it winter sowed very well. I'm going to grow some Shirley poppies just because I love them. Poppies in general winter sow very, very well. Charmant cabbage. Another variety I haven't tried before, but cabbage again does really well with winter sowing. Daikon radish. I've never grown daikon, but radishes do very well with winter sowing. Flash collards. Again, I've grown these. They winter sow very well. I have some sunflowers. These I will direct sow in my garden. Here's some pickling cucumbers. I have had sort of mixed success winter sowing cucumbers, but I always get at least some, and so I will probably do that this year. Legend tomato. These grew extremely well for me both inside and outside my greenhouse, which, by the way, my greenhouse is not heated. And this is an area where my neighbors have a really hard time growing tomatoes. So I'm going to try winter sowing them. Last year I bought plants. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not true. I winter sowed them. They did very well. Wonder bell pepper. I have tried many times to winter sow bell pepper. Generally, they do much better if you use a more traditional method of sowing, something that gives them a little more heat. They're very, they love heat. It's just the way it is. Same thing with eggplant. I have some eggplant here that I'm going to try growing from seed. I've never grown eggplant before. I will definitely not be winter sowing these. Although I have to say, some people have told me they've winter sowed eggplant. I've tried before and failed, so this year I'm going to use a different method. Umpqua broccoli was excellent last year. I winter sowed it. It grew really well. I recommend it for cool climates. Roxanne radish. I may winter sow these, or I might sow them directly in the soil. I'll probably do a bit of both. I like to do them in succession, meaning that I will plant some one week and some another week, and then therefore I'm not harvesting them all at once. I'm getting a few every week. Perfumo basil. I have winter sowed this successfully. Purple top white globe turnip is an excellent turnip. I really like it. Grows very well, and I have winter sowed it very successfully. Red drop hibiscus. I have never raised medicinal hibiscus. I will probably try winter sowing at least some of these seeds because I think it'll do all right. We'll see. If you're never sure and you don't want to use up all your seed, just do a little bit and then you'll know for the future. German chamomile winter sows very well. Genuine tomato. It's called Heirloom Marriage Genuine from Territorial Seed. I bought this as a plant and it did very well in my greenhouse. And I'm going to try sowing the seeds this year. I'll do some winter sowing and some with a method probably in my windowsill where it gets a little more heat. Here's another sweet pepper. Again, I'll probably do that in my windowsill. Kale, Black Magic. I've had great success with this in my garden. It grows well, not as well as collards, but over the winter it does very well, and it winter sows well. I have some pole beans here, Malibu. Again, like the squash, I don't really think that there's a great benefit to winter sowing them. I will direct sow them in my garden as it gets closer to spring. Franklin Brussels sprouts. That's a variety I have not tried before, but generally Brussels sprouts winter sow very well. Yellow summer squash, so I'm going to direct sow it. And then finally I have Kohlrabi, Conan. I've not tried this particular variety before, but Kohlrabi does winter sow very well, and I love it. So there you have it. Again, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask. Thanks a lot. Bye.